بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
I said a little bit about you, that you belong to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, that you are the I would say intellectual apologist for Islam. I mentioned a couple of organizations that you are involved in, but first of all, maybe just to scratch, I know this podcast is not about you, but as you are a reverend intellectual who finished his education in UK, London, and UK is known, or England is known, as one of the places where people are the least savage and the most educated. So how come that you have joined the religion of Islam with such a high, level of knowledge? If you don't mind, just to.
Well, if anyone thinks that people in London or UK are not savage, you should come out Friday night onto the city. You'll see, you'll see some things. Anyway. Yeah, so alhamdulillah, first of all, barakallahu feekum, my brothers, my Slavic brothers, for inviting me onto your show. It was I was very kind of amazed to see a Serbian podcast run by Muslims, because usually we don't, if you think about Balkans and you say Muslim, you might think Bosnians, you might think Albanians. You might even think Pomaks, although most people don't know about Pomaks, right? They're a little secret. The Pomaks of Bulgaria, I think, the Muslims there. I don't know if you know about them. Yeah, you must have heard about them, right?
Yeah, there are some Bulgarian Muslims. Yeah, there are some groups. I don't know how they're called, but maybe Sheikh is. I just recently moved here, bro.
Okay, yeah, that's it. Yeah, so
2 weeks. So.
But I thought Serbian podcast, mashallah, this is amazing. And I've heard from brother, is it Miko?
No, Marco from Canada. That's how we got introduced. By the way, he's giving his salam to you. Shout out to him. Salam alaikum, brother Marco.
So to hear about all the good da'wah that you're doing there, and I think, as I said, like, Serbs, like everybody else on this earth, deserve to hear the message from the creator of the universe about their purpose in life as much as anybody else. And so I was very heartwarmed to see this, and may Allah support your da'wah, and anything I can do to help you guys, please ask. I'll try learn more Serbian if you want, but it'll take some time.
You're invited to visit us as you will have your time, and we'll have some proper gathering as well. We'll shake hands and break some bread here, brother, but just get ready, because the food is delicious, and I know we are a little bit on the side of, we like to eat, so it's going to be very hard to sustain these calories, because calorie intake here is amazing.
Okay, well then sign me up for a good gym while I'm there then.
That's it.
All right, inshallah. So so you asked me the question. So in England, I grew up from I was in a kind of a Roman Catholic background, or Church of England background. So basically I was a mix between backgrounds. I was a Protestant and Catholic, but as a young boy, I didn't know the difference between any of those sects. In England, it's not a big thing. Christianity isn't really an in-your-face type thing here. It's not really. You wouldn't know the differences between any of the different sects of Christianity. Whereas maybe in the Balkans or in America, you might know. People are more aware of these differences. So I went to a Church of England school, and I was Christian. And I consider myself to be Christian, and I was seeing people from different religions, immigration. Some people from different religions, and I was hearing about this, and so I knew about heaven and hell and all these beliefs, about one God. Always believed in one God, but I was worried, because when you hear that there are consequences for people following the wrong religion or wrong belief, and I asked myself, well, why am I Christian then? Because what if what I'm following is just, I'm blindly following my society? But what if I was born in India? Would I be, Buddhist or Hindu or Jain or Muslim? Or would I be, if I was born in Saudi Arabia, would I be Muslim? If I was born in China, would I be well, Maoist? I don't know. No, would I be Confucian? Would I be Buddhist? Whatever. So is it just merely an accident of geography that makes me the belief that I am? And that can't be the basis behind belief, because these beliefs, these different religions and ways of life, what have you, they say very different things about what the purpose of life is, or how to live life, and what we're here for, and what are the commands you have to follow, and what is good and bad is different. So I couldn't just say, well, I'll just follow whatever everyone around me is. Sorry?
I say, or salvation itself, there's a big difference how you get obtain the salvation as well. So one of the major issues that we who reverted to Islam have acknowledged.
Yes. So I there was something about the idea of hell that was, I just knew it was real, right? that hell exists, and do I want to be punished? Do I want to have no justification for why I'm believing what I'm believing in front of the Creator? If the Creator asks me, why did I follow these set of beliefs, I can't simply say because people around me told me to. Okay, so I started to investigate. I prayed to the Creator. I made a deal with God, which I say, God, look, I'm going to leave Christianity, like as in I'm not affiliated with that. If it's true, then don't punish me. But whatever is the truth, please lead me to it. If you lead me to it, I swear I will embrace it, and I will spread that message to the world. I will. If you show me the truth, I will take that to the world as best as I can. And at 10 years old, I kind of then left Christianity. I became, you could say, agnostic, but I always believed God exists. And I researched every religion you can imagine, even those you can't imagine. Every sect, cult, set of ideas for ranging from atheism and the various and humanistic kind of organizations, all the way to obviously the Abrahamic religions, to Buddhism, Jainism, various branches of Hinduism, various New Age cults, New Age spirituality, the hippies, and things like this. I researched everything I could find in a library, because this was in that time, the ancient time where there was no internet, right? Or internet was very basic, right? It was, really basic. Where you had to wait like 5 minutes for the page to load on the screen, right? So I researched as much what I could find in the library, and I spent days and days, years, reading books and looking at different things, until interesting enough, Islam was actually kind of almost last on my list of things to research, because it just seemed so simple. It just seemed a bit too simple, and I was told by, you could say, Hollywood, or by kind of like, or Buddhist cultures, that the idea that the truth must be something you spend like decades and decades of your life trying to find, and only you find it like when you're 80 years old under a tree somewhere, Yeah,
when the apple hits you, something like that.
well, something like that, right? Something like that, yeah. So it didn't occur to me that the truth would be quite simple, because I was told by society that, no one knows what the purpose of life is. It's a big mystery. No one knows the meaning of life. You have to spend years and years of your life, most of your life, trying to find it, right? And maybe you might find something of it, of that answer. Islam just seems so simple, but the simplicity of Islam, in a sense, was deceptive, because behind that simplicity there was an amazing depth of answers to everything. Because I'm 10 years old, I was coming to 11, 12, 13, 14. Obviously, my knowledge of the world was, I read a lot, and I was very fascinated by geography, geology, history, biology, chemistry, physics. Love those subjects. I still keep up to date with those subjects today. But I thought that there would be something, there must be a deeper answer to things. And when I encountered Islam, it seemed so simple to me. I thought it can't be this. Yeah, until I started to think about it. And then I saw that, and I did it the usual way I do with any of my investigations. I tried to refute it, right? I said, let me find the contradiction. I found a contradiction in every religion. Christianity, the Trinity is a big issue, of course. In Buddhism, the idea that you're somehow just stuck in a loop of births and deaths and births and deaths. The question is, who set that in the first place? Why is that the game, right, of this reality? Where did that come from, right? Like, were you eternally in the past, being born and dying and born and dying? But then that's an infinite regress, right? Like, you can't have infinity going into the past to reach this point. You would never reach this point. So it didn't make sense. The purpose of life is to be enlightened. That's what Buddhists say. So the purpose of life, and what is enlightenment, is to know the purpose of life. It's like, it's circular. The purpose of life is to find the purpose of life. That doesn't make sense, right? I went through all of them, and when I encountered Islam, I tried to do the same approach, which was, can I find something wrong with it, something incorrect, something that doesn't make sense? But every time I asked a question or I didn't understand something about Islam, it would give me an answer, and the answer was so profound. It just opened my mind up to understanding the world better. It wasn't Islam that had any doubts in it or any issues. It was my own assumptions in my head that made me think, well, it doesn't make sense. And when I ask a question, Islam gives me an amazing answer, and it just made complete sense. And so at 14 years old, I realized that I ran out of questions. I ran out of criticisms against Islam. And I just said, well, then I have to embrace it. I have to take it as the best explanation there is, because it's the only one that makes sense. And then many years later, I thought more and more about my decision to be a Muslim. And I discovered that Islam isn't just the best explanation, but gradually I realized it was the only possible explanation. There would never be any other explanation that could come that would be better. And anyway, but at 14 years old, I said my Shahada. Although I had no Muslims around me to guide me, I had no one to tell me what I had to do. I had to read it out of books, basically. And I thought the Shahada initially was just something you believe. You just say, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Okay, I believe that. My Shahada was me telling my mother, basically, that, I said to Mum, I think...
Shall I give you a Shahada to your mom?
Yeah, I thought, well, it was more like, Mum, I think I'll be Muslim, right? And that was my kind of Shahada, because I didn't even know you had to make a...
How did your parents take it on board, brother? Sorry to ask you, because here, the culture that we are in, me and Omer, we had a big backlash from our families and whatnot. So how did your culture accept your change?
Well, this was in the early 90s. Okay, so this is before the 9/11
terror and
yeah. I mean, at this point in time, there was this was roughly, there was a war happening in Bosnia, right? This is how early it was, right? Which I saw in the news, but I didn't really fully understand much because I was just 14 years old. But my parents, it is different from maybe how you would have experienced it with your parents, because my parents were generally secular, and my mother thought it was just a phase, just a hobby that as kids, one day they want to do this, one day they want to play this, one day they want to do I'm going to grow out of it. My mom maybe she thought I'd grow out of it. Of course, after like 28 years later, I think my mum realizes that it's a bit permanent. Inshallah, won't be growing out of it. Yeah,
bless her.
But of course, my father was secular, and his background was from a French culture, and so for him, his concern was that would I be an extremist? Would I become, because in France, following religion, even a quarter seriously is viewed as extremist, right?
Yeah, they are extremely secular. Yeah, you're right. I have auntie from France, and I follow up the things there. And it's not only last couple of weeks. It's a long time ago. They have a history of extreme secularism. No. So yeah.
So and my mum was Catholic, but you see in Portugal and Spain, when almost everyone is kind of a Catholic background, it's not such a big thing. They don't hold it so strongly. They become very
softer than French.
It's a bit different, because Spain and Portugal, they're not they're not as secular as France is, because the Catholic Church has a lot of privileges in Spain and Portugal, as well as in South America, many countries. But it's just not something that the younger person, or around my mum's age younger, it became increasingly less serious about Catholicism. So like if you go to a church in Spain and Portugal, you'll mostly see old people in the church. You won't see young people, or even kind of like middle-aged people there. So my mother was she wasn't that strong on the Catholicism, and she was kind of liberal, you could say. So she just thought it was a passing phase. Many reverts or converts, they have serious problems with their parents, because their parents, if they come from a Hindu background, their parents will not like them becoming Muslim. And I can only imagine, obviously, from a Serb background as well, the kind of issues you face. But alhamdulillah, Allah spared me from that kind of test. It wasn't really a problem with my family, but there were just the things like they noticed that I would be doing. My father didn't want me to grow a beard, right? He said that you had, like you're young. Why are you growing a beard? You're not an old man. These kind of things was the issue I had. It was more like practicing was the problem, more not the becoming a Muslim that was the problem.
Not to believe, just a expression of looking like a believer. Yeah. Fair enough, mashallah. Ahi, mashallah, thank you very much for sharing some details with us. We are a little bit tight on time. I would like to maybe learn about your journey more some other time. So if we can jump on our topic, because it's quite interesting topic, refuting Marxism and woke ideology. So now, as I'm just recently did hijrah from UK, wokeism or woke ideology, confirming reality with your feelings, it's something that it's every day present in the West. But here where we are streaming this, and our audience doesn't really understand wokeism, can you first maybe give us some definitions and explain what woke would even mean?
I am quite fascinated by how in different countries there's a different situation with the people's mindset and what you call wokeism and so on. So first, let me explain it. But I think in many Slavic countries, it's not a problem. It's not an issue there.
It's crawling in, but it's not as present in the West. But they're trying. It's creeping in. They dig the hole in a boat, but it's really big boat, so it's going to take a long time, and it's easy to fix if people want to fix it around that. That's my first impression. But inshallah, it was going to stay this way. We'll just put a finger in to start with, So inshallah.
So basically, Serbia was obviously formerly part of Yugoslavia, and you had your experiences with communism, with individuals like Josip Tito and things like this, right?
Josip Tito.
Yeah. So to an extent, I mean, like I think you might have even remembered communism when it was back in the. It
was more socialism than communism. Socialism with a flavor of communist agenda. I would put it this way. At least my experience, and Sheikh Faiza as well. I think Omer as well. We all still were of those school when we had to swear allegiance to Tito and whatnot, sing the songs and celebrate his birthday, and
subhanallah,
wave the flags and be happy to have a kind of it was kind of a god, because we had to worship him literally it was like that.
Wow, subhanallah. Okay, so I think before I explain wokeism, I think you won't truly understand it unless I start with Marxism, because wokeism is like a child of Marxism. It comes from Marxism. It's an evolution or devolution, a mutation of Marxism. So I'll summarize Marxism for the sake of the viewers. I know that many of you probably know what you heard. You studied it at schools because you were told to study this at schools, so you know this. So Marxism in a nutshell. So Marxism is an idea about reality itself that starts with materialism, that everything is just matter. Just there's no spiritual, there's no immaterial. Everything is matter, it's material. Okay, so then how do you explain culture, ideas, religion, and all these things. So Karl Marx, as a materialist, he explained it like this. He said that, before you had culture and art, you had all this religion, you had people surviving in nature, right? And the first thing they had to do was they had to make food for themselves, right? They had to get food and and hunt and do all those things. So he said that if culture, art, religion comes after this, then the act of surviving, of producing what you need from nature, that was the thing that determined your culture, your religion, your ideas, everything. So your economic activity creates your culture, your religion, and the whatever you want to follow, your fashion, everything. So this is pure Karl Marx ideas, right? Pure Karl Marx ideas. And then he argued that society, if you think there's what you think of society as having people of different levels, businessmen on top and workers on the bottom, this is not a natural thing, he'd argued. This is just something that comes because in society is not based on kings and the people, and it's just, and religion tells you that the king has authority from God and you have to obey the king. This is all like an illusion, you could say, right? He calls it ideology. Okay, what really is happening is the economic system has created this structure, and your social relations, the economic system created everything, and what you think is your relations between people, like you have a friend who's your neighbor, you have a friend at work, you have a boss, you have a family you look after, maybe your parents you look after. These are not just social relations, okay? These are economic relations, right? Because you give money to, maybe you lend money to your neighbor, you help your neighbor with some stuff, you help your friend. This is where the economic relations happen. And so basically Karl Marx's explanation is everything is about economics. Everything comes from economics, because economics is not just money. I give piece of paper. No. It is matter. It is making what humans need from nature, and that's what makes everything. He thought that money was an illusion. It was a capitalist bourgeois, which is the ruling class of capitalism, the ones who own wealth, who own capital. It is an illusion created by the capitalists to disconnect you from matter by giving you this piece of paper that you think has value, but it has no value, and they make you use it as part of their system. But it really allows them to continue controlling capital, wealth, right? Okay. That's in a nutshell. Okay. There's many more stuff that Karl Marx talked about, but I am trying to summarize. Okay. Why do I have to talk about Marxism to talk about wokeism? Why is that connect? Why is it relevant?
This is what was getting me at as well. Sorry to interrupt you, brother. I was just telling Sheikh Faiz about it as well. How is he going to connect it? I was really interested to hear this.
Okay. Then I went and researched both ideas, and then I found out that they are really connected. And Jazakallah khairan. But please continue with the Marxism. Let us know more, because there are so many young people here, and they have no clue about Marxism and communism. So please let us have more information about it. Jazakallah khairan. Okay,
Yakum. So Karl Marx predicted. Karl Marx made some predictions. He didn't say that the bourgeois, the capitalists, they were just some artificial, unnatural thing that arose for no reason. He explained it that this is actually it comes up due to a historical process. There's a historical process called dialectical materialism. Okay. So how do you explain different religions and different ideas coming throughout and change happening throughout time? Well, as a materialist, he says, this is just matter. Matter keeps changing, right? Matter changes. And matter meets eventually in any society, the matter reaches an opposite, and they are an opposite matter, and they clash, and they produce a new situation, a new era, a new political system, a new economic system, and there will be a constant change where there's each system has contradictions inside it. They will eventually clash and produce a new evolution, a new system. So what he said is that humans used to live as like in the wild, and he called this primitive communism. And then there was wars. They fought each other. They tribe against tribe. They took slaves, and they made the slaves do the work. So this is now the second phase, slavery, right? The slave system. And then eventually they kind of got rid of slavery, and they created a system where you have warlords which own land, and people have to work that land, and they live on that land, and they can take a piece of it, but they have to work for the lord. And this was called feudalism, okay? Where you have a king. The king gives land to the lords, the nobles, and the nobles, they're the warlords, right? And they own the land, and you have to, if you live on that land with your family, you have to work the land of this noble lord. You have to give them some of your produce, and you can keep some for you to feed your family. This was called feudalism. Europe went under feudalism for many centuries. Then eventually, with the Industrial Revolution, this new development of matter called technology, steam engine, what have you, it created a new revolution, a new society called capitalism, where it was no longer the lords that own land and everyone has to work on the land. No, now it's the factory owners, right? And you have to work in the factory, right? And they can control you, they own you, not because you're a slave, but because you have to work, otherwise you starve. There's no food, you can't feed your family, so you become like a slave, basically. So this is what he calls capitalism. And then he said, but eventually there'll be a new evolution, and that new evolution whereby the bourgeois, there'll be a revolution by the working class, the proletariat. They'll take out the bourgeoisie. They'll control the government, and they'll create a government that gives everyone equal. When I say equal, maybe equal according to what they need, right? And this is socialism. That's the next stage, is socialism. And then eventually people will learn to share all the resources. They'll learn how to do that. They won't need the government anymore, and the government will just disappear. And that's the last stage of human material evolution, and that's called communism. Okay, so this is Marxism's prediction, and he predicted that the most advanced capitalist societies in his time was England are ready to become the next socialist states. But kind of something happened which doesn't fit very well with his theory. You had a state that wasn't as industrialized as England become the one that has the first revolutions, the first socialist revolutions, like Russia, for example. This was against his predictions, because his prediction was that as capitalist state becomes more advanced, eventually it's ready for the next revolution, and it will evolve into the next revolution, and the workers will rise up, and they will change the system, and it will become socialist. But no, it didn't happen in England. In fact, the workers in England kind of enjoyed, or they were more comfortable with their society and their system. But the workers in Russia wasn't fully industrialized, mostly peasant farmers and things. They rose up and established socialism. Also, many workers in England don't care about socialism. They don't want to join socialism. They don't support it. And these were many questions that Marxists started to have in themselves. Like, why don't the workers in England and maybe in France and so why is there no revolution? Why is there no armed revolution against this in America as well? There's no revolutions. What's going on? This led to what would be which would eventually lead to wokeism, which is what they call it neo-Marxism. And one of the founders of neo-Marxism is a guy called Antonio Gramsci. He's an Italian thinker, okay, in the early 20th century, and he tried to explain why there's no revolution happening, Marxist revolution happening, that like Karl Marx predicted. And his explanation was that the workers are deluded. Their minds are controlled by the bourgeois, the bourgeois have created a culture that makes people think they're free, right? But they're not free. And the workers, the workers actually have some comfort in the Western states. Now, Karl Marx predicted that the working classes, their wages would keep going down, the bourgeois' profits would keep going up, and the capitalists, the bourgeois, they don't care about the workers. If they die in the factory, not a problem. Who cares? But what happened in England and in many countries was workers started getting rights, workers' rights. Safety, health and safety concerns. Health insurance, and all this stuff started to happen, which cost more money for the bourgeois people. This goes against Karl Marx's kind of prediction somewhat, but they didn't say Karl Marx is wrong, let's leave Karl Marxism, the Marxists. No, they changed Marxism, right? They said, this is done deliberately by the bourgeois. They give you workers' rights to make you more entrapped, because now you feel comfortable in your chains. Right, you feel comfortable in your chains. So this was the beginning of wokeism, you could say, because it starts off with neo-Marxism, a new Marxism. Okay, and this new Marxism, they saw the Russian Revolution, in the West. They saw in the East that there was very bad economic conditions. Stalin was a maniac. Killed loads of people, millions of people. People started to be wary of Marxism. So the neo-Marxists in the West, in France, in Germany, and so on, they didn't want to imitate the Marxist system of the socialist system of having, abolishing private property. Property like you can't own farms and factories and so on and so forth. They didn't want to do that. The economic, solution, it didn't kind of work. But they thought, well, how do we? It doesn't work because there's many reasons they said it doesn't work. But there was something they wanted to keep from Marxism, and that is that the social relations between people. You have friends, you have family, you work in you have colleagues at work. These are social relations. They kept the idea that these social relations are the same as economic relations. So if you want to solve the problem of injustice in the West, you have to create equality in social relations. Yeah. Because economic relations, it's hard to say, let's make everybody equal. All right. Economically, it's hard. It's very hard to do. They didn't know how to do it. It didn't work very well. Even Lenin admitted that he couldn't implement that 100% socialist system. Yeah. So they couldn't do that. Instead, they say, let's eliminate the privileges, the social privileges of the upper classes, and to make everybody equal socially. So don't treat the people who are nobles with extra respect. Don't give them don't make laws that allow them to get lower taxes than everybody else. These kinds of things, small things, and they call this social justice. Okay, social justice. But then the neo-Marxists realized there was something else happening here. There wasn't only two classes. Well, I suppose Karl Marx believed there's a middle class as well, but there wasn't only two classes. There was also, it wasn't just the bourgeois and the working class. There was also men versus women, white versus black, people who were heterosexual versus homosexual, people who were who have no disabilities and they are fully abled, to people who have disabilities. They said these are social inequalities. Any difference between how people are treated, or any difference between what is normal and what is not normal culture. Like, for example, they'd say that society was designed for people who are able-bodied or people who have heterosexual family structure. This is not fair because it's not equal between the people. So any identity attribute you have, whether it's your skin color, your race, your ethnicity, your sex, whether you're male or female, whether your sexual preference, whether you are homosexual or heterosexual, whether, and now there's a new one, whether you are someone who has the same gender as their sex. So I say I'm male and I'm a man, right? But they'll say, but what about people who say they might be male, but they're not a man, they're a woman. They identify as a woman, transsexual, okay? So that's a new class. There's now two. Now there's another class. Those who are they call cisgendered, people who they identify with the gender of what they biologically were born with, and those who don't identify with the gender of what they're biologically born with. These are now two classes. So if you're going to have justice in the West, you're going to have to make everything equal between the two. And I don't just mean like jobs and pay. No. Everything. The culture has to be equal. So if you have a society that says that the normal family is a man and a woman, and they have children, that to say that's normal is giving unequal privilege to heterosexuals. To make everybody equal, you have to say that a family can be anything: 2 men, 2 women, with adopting children. Now they're going to go even into the area of maybe more than 2 people. It could be 3 people, 4 people, 2 men, 1 woman, 2 men, 3 women. There's no limit. But except if you're Muslim, if you say, okay, so 1 man maybe can have 4 wives. Oh, no, this is sexist. Right? They'll say this is no, not for you Muslims. No, not this. Yeah, not that. So that movement for social justice between all these different new classes that they've come up with, this is woke, and that's what you've been hearing about in the West.
MashaAllah, I got it now. How you connect it, and it does. Yeah. So neo-Marxism has brought all these social illnesses, I would say. I hope no one's gonna ban us to that we are promoting some transphobia or something. But as my religious view is, I need to put a small disclosure. As my religious view is, that is a sin, and it is a social illness, and I'm not talking. There is no. I need to put a disclaimer. There is no hate speech. We do not hate no one who identifies whatever they want. But it's out of ordinary. Like we've seen, even people can't even define what the gender is today. If you follow Matt Walsh, and his documentary was quite interesting. It's almost a comedy how he displayed incompetence of academia today and people around us. So yeah, mashallah, you open a new avenue for me to really think about it, and we can really trace it from Marxism. But how could now do people really understand where is it coming from? These neo-Marxists, do they really follow Marx, or they are creating their own sect and ideology, or how does it work?
It's more like they are the children of Marx, but not they don't have the same ideological
disobedient children of Marx. So
more like they have they carry the same ideological DNA. Okay, so a lot of these ideas comes from Karl Marx. Karl Marx's ideas about that society is explained by a fight between 2 classes of people, a fight between them. This is taken. This core idea is taken forward. Karl Marx argued that the culture, the main religion of a society is he called it ideology, and this comes from the economic system. The economic system creates this ideology. Ideology is false. It's not true. But it comes from the economic system. So like he might say Christianity or is a product of the time of feudalism. Maybe he might say something like this. But the issue is that Karl Marx, some of his predictions didn't come true. An economic system that he called to, which was, it was his economic system wasn't very detailed, but it didn't seem workable, right? I mean, like even Lenin knew he couldn't work it out. You have to have some money was still needed to do things with. You couldn't just remove money from the equation. So the Western Marxists, right? So the Marxists of France, Germany, and then and eventually America, they didn't want to implement the economic system of Karl Marx. Okay, but there were some ideas they wanted to keep, and what they wanted to keep was the idea that you should eliminate the fight between these two classes by making everybody into one class. And the only way you can do that is everybody is equal in everything. Not okay. They're a bit vague about the economics, because I think deep down in their heart they'd like to make everyone equal in economics, but they can't do that so easily. But what they realized was that if you can make everyone, they argued that maybe what keeps up the economic system is the culture. So if you attack the culture, you can then change the economic system eventually. I think maybe it was a reverse Marxism. Instead of changing the economic system and you change the culture, no, we change the culture and then you can change the economic system. So they're going to attack the culture, and they said the way you do that is you make the culture equal to everyone. So like if a man, if it's the culture in Serbia for a man to provide for his wife and children, that's not fair, because they said that means that men control the money in a family, and the woman is a slave to the father, so to the husband and the father of the children. So let women not depend on men for that. Create a culture that men don't have to be the ones who provide for the family. In fact, create a culture where both men and women equally provide for the family. Okay, because then men and women are economically equal, and then they are both socially equal, because women then will be free. And even though you might think this is a new development, Karl Marx, he planted the seed of this already. He himself said that the family structure, with the man as the head of the family, is like the capitalist structure, with the bourgeois at the top and the workers at the bottom. So the bourgeois in the family is the man, and the workers, the workers who are being oppressed, is the woman and children. So even he, that's what I'm saying. It's neo-Marxism, because it's the DNA of Karl Marx is still there, but it's used in a new way and to target different things than Karl Marx targeted. Karl Marx didn't care about changing the culture. He thought there should be a revolution. You just need to tell all the workers to rise up, and they will change the economic system, and everything else will change afterwards. But the neo-Marxists said, no, that's not going to work. We have to target the culture first, and then you can have the revolution afterwards. So that's why they're in Hollywood. They target Hollywood. They're in schools and universities, because they're trying to change the culture. And of course, in America, the Western, the conservatives and liberals, because liberals are not Marxists, are all neo-Marxists, they don't like this. And so there's a fight, there's a war, an ideological war happening in America between conservatives and liberals against these neo-Marxists, otherwise called woke.
You can even argue now, the way I'm just thinking about it, you can even argue that the elite now, the bourgeois, are implementing wokeism to suppress the idea, because you're going to have a false narrative that you are equal to someone else. You're going to get everything except the money. And at the end of the day, people will do a lot of things for the money. You can even argue that they are pushing this agenda to give the false narrative so people will calm down. Because you can see it even in the West, especially after this COVID and whatnot, that people are struggling financially more and more. West is not booming as it used to be. So now, as there are more financial issues and there's less money on the market even in the West, so they're pushing these agendas more. So they talk about these rights, you need to be equal here and equal there, just to kind of throw dust in your eyes. I think you can argue this as well. That the elite has a lot to do with it. They're accepting these ideas not as their ideology, but they're using aspects of it to keep the status quo.
It's difficult to kind of put it like that. I would say it's more like many of the elites who are business owners. So they want to make money. They want their business to be attractive to young people. So they adopt these ideas which are deemed to be popular at universities in the West, wokeism. So like Disney, for example, is producing many movies which just don't make sense. Like you have, if they're going to make a remake of a movie, the character used to be a white man, they make it a white woman, or they make it a black woman. They change the characters, they change the race, and not only that, but when they redid movies, for example, there was a cartoon called Mulan about a Chinese lady who joins the Chinese army to fight against the Mongols, right? So in the 90s version of it, I think she's training hard. She makes loads of mistakes, and she tries her best, and she almost loses, and she helps to fight against the Mongols. But Disney made a new version of that movie, and the modern version of that movie, she's a strong woman and she makes no mistakes and she beats everybody, and it's easy and there's no problem and there's no challenges, because they wanted to say that women have been portrayed in capitalist culture as being weaker than men, as being as making mistakes, and the way to change that is we have to show women are like super strong and amazing and they can beat everybody in physical fights, and they're just amazing and great, and there's no weakness with them, right? And so they make a movie, and the movie is boring. Is not a good movie. I've heard many critics online say it's just really bad movie because there's nothing interesting about it. Like someone always wins, and it's not. It's just there's no challenges. There's no villains that are challenging. Nothing. It's just boring then. But you see how wokeism has got into Disney, right? In Hollywood, in the businesses, these tech giants, in Twitter and even YouTube and places like this, where they ban even Muslim accounts get banned, as well as conservative accounts get banned, because they've said things which they deem to be against the weaker classes in this fight, and that they have to help these weaker classes who are women or who are a different ethnicity group, or they're disabled, or they're homosexuals. They have to be helped, and they have to be shown as equal to the other classes. And so, and to do this, you have to ban anyone that criticizes them, because they'll say that, see, they've changed. They're not like liberals. A liberal might say that you're allowed to criticize as long as you don't get violent, okay? But a neo-Marxist would say that criticizing is the violence, because when you let's say you criticize LGBTQ, the homosexuality, whatever, you criticize, you say it's not morally the same as a heterosexual marriage. Let's just say you say that. The neo-Marxist, the liberal might say that's your opinion. The neo-Marxist would say that you expressing this opinion is reinforcing the oppressive political structure of the society and creating inequality of the two classes.
And that's what's happening today.
Yeah. So they will say that your criticism is no different to physical violence. And they use other arguments too. They say that when you criticize, you make someone feel bad, and you cause them emotional harm. And so that's harm. That's still harm. The psychological harm is the same as physical harm, they say. So if you disagree with somebody, if you say, I don't accept your way of life, if you want to have a gay marriage or what have you, I'm not going to physically attack you, but I don't think, in my belief system, I don't think this is a correct thing to do. The neo-Marxist, the woke person will say that you have committed a type of violence against that person, not because you physically hurt them, you didn't harm them, but because you harmed their emotions, their feelings. You made them feel less than you, and so they are, you have harmed them in that way.
It's a
So
vogue blasphemy.
Sorry.
It's a vogue blasphemy.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's how they do it. Yeah, subhanallah. But everyone except Muslims, of course. Why? Because we are stoic, and it's not the problem. There's a solution actually for everything was going on. Because they can insult us, and no one talks about, do we have mental issues because of it? Because we'll fight it as a man or a woman, a practicing woman. We know it's part of our religion. Prophet ﷺ was attacked, and there was Islamophobia already from the beginning. So there's nothing new. But these double standards are so obvious these days. They're so obvious. They're not hiding anymore. They used to be hiding. And I don't think they're really helping women. Maybe to open another topic on it. Not to concentrate on Islamophobia too much. Because look what's happening with the woman now, that feminists are actually joining Muslims almost. We have some similar arguments. Feminism is disappearing due to LGBTQ issues. It's disappearing. They have no rights anymore. Woman cannot be a woman. Now man can walk in and just state he's a woman, and that's pretty much it. And then you are unjust to that person. I've seen some, was it in Wales last year? Or was it this year? I'm not sure. There was an LGBTQ parade, and there were lesbians literally protesting against them. And there was a man coming in, at least physically, in my eyes, in my reality, he's a man. He was claiming that he's a woman and that he's a lesbian. And they were saying no. And then the police came, Welsh police, and they removed the lesbian group of LGBTQ. So these things are happening due to wokeism. It's such a contradiction that the feminist movement is suffering, and they're kind of getting closer to Islam. I think at the end of the day, all of these political issues and social issues that are happening in the world are literally giving dawah to the Muslims. To the non-Muslims for Islam. They are helping us, they're supporting our cause.
Oh, yeah.
Either you sell your brain or you start thinking, and when you start thinking, what's the only antidote? What's the only antidote?
Yeah. No, it's true. The thing is that, conservatives and liberals who argue against the woke, what they don't realize is that their ideologies are powerless against wokeism, because they all follow the same DNA. Ultimately, they all follow the same DNA, which is they all believe that there is nothing higher than the human individual. Okay, there's nothing higher than the single human person, not society, not religion, not God. So, a liberal and conservative, they took God out of the equation of the state, and they thought, okay, that's fine. We're going to leave it there. But the neo-Marxist or the Marxist says, why are you leaving it there? Let's continue. Okay, so if there's no God and a human individual is free now, or there's no God in a state, so the human individual is free to be any religion they want and what have you. Okay. And that no one can force anyone to follow a different religion. Okay, fine. But that also means, what about the other things that force people? What about culture? Who decides the culture? Because if someone's a gay man and there's a person who's a heterosexual man, why is it that there's a culture? The culture says that the heterosexual man is the normal person. Yeah, because if they're both humans, they must be equal, because there's nothing, because in their mind, in the Western idea that they adopted, there's nothing beyond the human being, or that's politically important. So if that's the case, then they're both equal, and if they're both absolutely equal, then what right does the heterosexual man have to say that heterosexual marriage is the normal marriage for society? He has no authority then. There's nothing, because they're both human. They have different opinions. All opinions are equal now. All opinions then become equal. all culture becomes equal, all traditions become equal. So the Western conservatives and liberals, they don't have a good argument. They don't have much to say against the neo-Marxists. I mean, I know they say science supports us and what have you, but the neo-Marxists don't care. If the neo-Marxist says, look, someone might be born a male, but whether you are a man or a woman is a label, and a label that society invented. So why do I have to be forced by society to fit this label? Yeah, I can choose my label because I'm free. That's what they say, right? Well, you know, so a conservative would say, but you're a man, you're male, you have male genitalia, you have male, parts. And they say, I might be biologically male, but my identity is a woman, they could say. Because these are words invented by society, and I'm part of society, and I'm equal to anybody else in society, so I can pick whatever I want to call myself. Yeah, and you can't say I'm wrong, because it's just words, and words are made by humans, and we're all equal. Yeah, you don't have an argument then. So Matt Walsh and Jordan Peterson, as much as people think they have some good arguments, right? Ultimately, they carry the same disease as the woke people. Yeah, why Islam looks good? Why Islam, the people realize it's the only solution, is because we never removed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from importance in all human affairs. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator of humans, the creator of our affairs, the sustainer of our affairs, and he is the only basis for any meaning, right? For good and bad, the only definition of good and bad is what Allah says or he prohibits. We didn't remove Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from our consideration. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is central to Islam. It's central to our deen, right? There is no meaning outside of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So only we can say, yeah, I'm a man and that woman's a woman. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't just make us with different physical bodies, but he taught Adam alayhi salam the first words, right? The ism, the names of things. So language isn't just made up by society, by anyone could do it. No, the first language was made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, was taught to Adam alayhi salam, and we are all following, the evolution, or not evolution, but the changes that come from that first language. We split into different languages over time as people speak different accents, dialects. But that first language, it was from the creator, and it's not just made up with anyone's opinion. Nope, it describes reality itself. Why? Because it was taught to us by the creator of reality, right? So,
mashallah.
We can say,
very good point. Barakallahu feek.
So we have an argument to say, no, man is a man, woman's a woman, and as the Quran says, the man is not like the woman, right? Yeah. So we have
the first bit of argument the Christians and the Jews can follow, but the second bit of argument that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala he created the first language, he taught Adam the words. This is only Islamic theology. Because as you were talking, I wanted to mention, yes, but Christians and Jews can join us with it, but they can't. Because it's all about language. It's all about expressing yourself. It's nothing about reality. So
in the Bible, it's strange. A point in the Bible, it kind of describes Adam alayhi salam inventing the language to name things, right? Now, to many Jews and Christians, right? The idea, the invention of language is a big mystery for sociologists. They don't know where language comes from, right? They don't know how to explain it, because a child a child who disappears into a forest when they're 2-3 years old, and they're raised by wolves or monkeys or what have you. They can't speak language. They can't generate language. Okay, they don't know where it comes from. And Adam alayhi salam in the Bible, is it just somehow he just invents language, right? Doesn't make sense. But the Quran has an answer. Actually, no, language is taught to human beings. Your child, any of you have children, your children won't learn language unless you teach them language. If you don't teach them language, they will never learn it. Right? So like psychological, any studies can show this. I'm sure there's not a single instance of any human being spontaneously inventing language. If no one teaches you language, you'll never learn it ever, right? And you'll be just like an animal, because we need language for our akal to work, right? It's like the petrol that makes our engine go. We need it. So here's a fascinating thing, subhanAllah, is if the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if he was a false prophet and he was just borrowing things from Christianity and Judaism, why didn't he borrow that? Why did he change? Why did he change that then? Right? Why wouldn't we just borrow what the Bible says? No, it's like the one who sent the Quran knows exactly what happened in the past, and knows where to correct the Bible where it made the mistake, or it wasn't correct. It wasn't the original history wasn't preserved properly. It corrects it. Yeah, the Quran is a muhaymin. It corrects, it control the previous scriptures that have survived. Yeah, it corrects. Anyway, just an interesting point. Anyway, subhanAllah. But you're right. The Bible does not say that Adam alayhi salam was taught the names by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It doesn't say that at all. It says that
they can argue. They can argue. Christians and Jews, they can say, okay, we have objective morality because we have an anchor, and this is a revelation. But they don't have answers. And I never look at this aspect because it's all about language. But we have even an answer of development of the language, mashallah. Mashallah, may Allah bless you. We learn every day, mashallah. So, okay, so what's the solution? What do you see? What's the solution? Is there a solution? Fair enough, in the West, it's a little bit different. Here, they don't feel the heat yet. Here, they more or less just see some videos online and they may laugh, but they don't understand it's crawling in. So here we can still call it prevention better than a cure. But what's the solution? How do you see what can society do? Not only Muslims, of course, with us just stick to the deen. But what can society do? Are there any political views? Are there any options for people to see through this, or they'll have to be just a slaves and follow everything? Because like you said, from Hollywood, from everything is just bombarding everyone. And now when they started with the kids of 5 years old already asking these questions in the schools, still not here, they start putting certain booklets in, but they are still not that aggressive. But in the West, they're already asking children, and they're not communicating with their parents. And if people here think that this is not going to happen in 5-10 years, if we don't stop it now, it will. Yeah. It will, because no one would have this conversation 5 or 10 years ago. Imagine 10 years ago, someone would tell you in UK that your kids will be determining their own gender by the age of 5, and the parents will not even know. Everyone would go mental on it. There would be no discussion. But now today, yeah, fair enough. They cook the frog. So,
I mean, it depends which society or country you're talking about in terms of the solution. So, if it's the West, so Western countries. If it's Zapad, right, the West, right?
Zapad.
Yeah. I learned that from Russian, actually, because I researched that. Ironically, the first naming or identification of Zapad, the West, as the West, actually comes from Russian writers and thinkers. They were the first people in the 19th century to call the West Zapad, the West, because for them it's the West, and to delineate between the West and the Slavs, and then the West, the West of the Slavs. So that's why I knew that word from the West. So there's been this kind of barrier, you could say, between the West and Slavic thinking for many centuries, which is why the Eastern Orthodox Church, it tends to fall roughly within Slavic societies. Although Poland was fell to Catholicism so much, but yeah. So if people in the Slavic societies think that they are immune, right, to woke, give it some time, because yes, after the fall of the fall of socialism, many people obviously were disillusioned by socialism. They don't want to have anything to do with it anymore. They wanted, liberalism might work, capitalism might work, because it won. It seemed to be successful. But wokeism or neo-Marxism, it grows within liberalism or capitalist societies. It's the ground for it to can grow is in there, because it feels itself. It is a better version of Marxism, right? It's better. It's designed to attack where the West doesn't have an immune system. There's no protection against it, because it uses the same ideological DNA as Western or other Western ideology like liberalism, right? If you think that humans should be free to do whatever they want and God should not control the politics of a society, you've already opened the door. That's it. You've opened the door for woke to eventually come, because they say, okay, great. So humans should be free. What should we be free from? Yeah. Why should we be free? Oh, because every human is equal, right? Okay. So then free from religion, great. But there's more. Free from society, free from culture, and free from the meanings of words that society imposes on me as well. See, gradually, you see what happens. It will gradually go to that point. So, maybe in Serbia, it's not a problem now, but give it 10 years, give it 15, 20 years. Soon you'll see people with different color hair doing gay pride parade, walking down Belgrade, basically. Okay. Event, it's inevitable. If not, I think maybe, I don't know if it's in Croatia there was one. I'm not sure.
No, there are already some parades around these areas. Even Bosnian, they did something, because authorities are protecting them, and if they want to join these big society, big projects of European Union and whatnot, they have to give them rights. So the wokeism is kind of the only path that you can take if you want to be a part of European Union. And most of the countries, we are here on the edge. We have only Bosnia and Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia, and Montenegro. They are still, and of course Macedonia then comes. They are still left out of it from ex-Yugoslavia. So yeah, so that's the next step. Croatia definitely, it's already in European Union. Here, like I said, in Serbia as well, we have gay parades, LGBT parades, pride parades. That it's happening. Yeah. Sheikh, you want to say something?
Yes, I think you can have a parade, a gay parade in entire Serbia, in all cities except in your new city, Michko. Until now, we haven't had a parade in our city. They have tried, but unsuccessful.
By the way, shout out to Novi Pazar. This is the city I'm in. This area is called Sandžak. I'm in Serbia, and just to share one thing for many listeners from the West, or someone who doesn't understand what's happening. This is north of Serbia. And 2 days ago, me and my missus finally moved in. Sheikh, Allah te nagradio, may Allah bless Sheikh who helped me out through all the process and all the struggle. And it was just Maghrib Adhan, and we are walking to a masjid, literally 2 minutes away. I mean, I can hear like 2 masjids. I'm in Serbia. And I just look at my wife and I told her, look, do you understand we are in Serbia? And you're walking in Adhan, and in the whole city, I heard there are only 2 places where they sell alcohol, not on the main street. So you don't hear it's not perfect, of course, but you don't feel that you are in society, secular society. You feel you are in Islamic society that has certain issues. Of course, not everyone is dressed this way or that way, or there are some other smaller issues. But anyone, I would suggest here, anyone who's a Muslim who wants to visit Serbia, please come to Sandžak. Novi Pazar is the place to be. If you ever been in Edgware Road in the middle of the summer, even on Eid without the loud music, that's how this main road here looks every evening. Packed, cabs are full, no alcohol, coffee, juice, just people enjoying, talking. You don't see zombies scrolling like people on the phones. Life of a half a meter or a meter in front of you, but people are really communicating and talking to each other. So it's amazing. What I came here because of Islam. Now I can say because I wanted to share Islam, but now I can say what I gain more Islam, because I live literally in a Muslim society. As the Sheikh said, they tried. give us the brief history. They tried to make some kind of a parade, but the Muslims here stood up and didn't let them in the city or something like that, didn't it?
Yeah, it's a small city. 3 years ago they have tried, but they, alhamdulillah, they canceled it because there was a rumors that they will try tomorrow, and alhamdulillah, people get on the street, blockade the street, and they didn't allow them to have that. Alhamdulillah. But
so anyone who wants to do hijrah to a Muslim country, come to Serbia, yeah?
but in our city, you have approximately 10% of Christians, Serbs living in Novi Pazar. You have a lot of churches, old churches that are older than 13 centuries, approximately, or even more. And of course, I know and I heard that there are some people who describe themselves openly as gays, and nothing happens to them. And some Muslims, unfortunately, they became gays, as I heard. It happens 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. Of course, not thousands, not hundreds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know. But in this city, you can also hear that. But nothing happens to them. Of course, we are not violent people. They can. It's their choice if they want to go to Jannah or Jahannam. It's their choice. They can choose their way to in their life. But of course, they are not allowed to oppress our children and our lives and our families with their ideology.
Sheikh, I want to say, izvinya vam se. I have to go. It's a Maghrib time, and I need to go and pray and leave. So I'm very sorry about this. I was enjoying this great conversation between all you guys, and inshallah we get to do this again. And inshallah, who knows? Maybe I'll see you guys in person. Maybe or
inshallah.
Whenever you come here, I'll be more than happy to. You be my guests. You be my guest here in London. But anyway, I want to just go on the note that inshallah, the only solution ultimately to liberalism, conservatism, woke, Marxism, neo-Marxism is the Deen of Islam, the Deen of the Creator of mankind, who knows mankind the best and has given the best system for human nature. This is the only solution. And I think more and more non-Muslims who are conservative and even some liberals realize this when they see just how extreme but inevitable the direction of their own core aqidah will eventually go. It will eventually go in that direction they don't like. And we're telling them, look, you're on the train. The train is going to go off the, on those rails, going to go off the mountain, right? You need to get off that train, right? Get off that train. It's the only way to save yourself. And the only way to save yourself is embracing the Deen of Islam, recognizing the Deen of Islam, much as I recognize that, alhamdulillah, with Allah's help and guidance. And may Allah continue to guide, may Allah guide me and guide all of us, and continue to guide all the Muslims out there who have to face this, and make them strong and reinforce them and give them patience and hikmah and ilm to deal with these problems and to cause the Deen of Islam. Ameen.
Barakallahu feek, Akhi. I do appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll have a couple of private conversations as well, because I need some advices from you and your experience in especially in Muslim Debate Initiative, because we are trying to do something similar here. We'll open a organization, register organization. It's going to be called Adam, Association for Dialogue and Affirmation of Monotheism. So we'll start from Adam, inshallah. I don't want to hold you too long. Just one thing. Recently, I passed with the car, passed by a Jewish cemetery here, and it says on a board they actually fled from Andalus, and they were held here. They were protected here from what was going on. So if the Jewish in whatever century it was seek protection here, it's a nice place to be. So people are tolerant, people are nice. As Sheikh said, everyone can do whatever he wants, just don't impose it on others. And hopefully, inshallah, we'll see you here and we'll break some bread together. Some lepinja in cevapčići, you're going to see mashallah food you're never going to forget.
Okay, inshallah. Do you do halal sujuk?
Brother, too much halal food, I'm telling you.
Okay, good. I like
You're hungry, you're never going to stay hungry. There's no way.
I've heard
quality food.
Okay, I've heard of I've heard of there's speciality Muslim sujuk done in Bosnia and Albania, so I'll try halal halal Serbian sujuk.
You have a specialty here that's called mantia. Comes
Okay.
from Sanjak. You heard about burek, yeah?
Burek, yeah, no,
Burek, yeah, you heard about burek. No, so mantia is like a small version, like imagine small dumplings. They just make a smaller ones. They nicely bake them, and then they put the yogurt over, brother, and you have it with a nice minced beef or veal, or you can have it with cheese and spinach or whatever. It's too much for me.
Mitko, please stop. We are on diet. I have another question for you. I have just one question, and also Jazakallah khairan. We can see that in Europe people are actually returning to this Marxist ideology and communist ideology openly. I heard in Austria some majors became in some big cities as majors, and they are openly from communist parties.
That's because they've been disillusioned by capitalism failing. They thought that capitalism or liberalism capitalism is the economic system of liberalism, but the Marxists would call liberalism capitalism because for them there was only the economic system, right? So, everything comes from the economic system. So anyway, so people are seeing that liberalism or capitalism doesn't give them prosperity and wealth that they thought they would, and so that's why they are especially humans have short memories, right? We're called insan, right? Insan comes from the Arabic nisyan, which means we forget, right? So we forget just how bad it is under socialism, and we want to bring it back, even though it didn't work very well in the past. But anyway, brothers, I do apologize. I must go because obviously it's my
holding you.
Barakallahu feekum. And again, I would like, inshallah, to continue speaking with you guys afterwards and get to know you all better as well. And and maybe we'll meet up, inshallah. So until then, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Barakallahu feek.